All right, we are live. Hello, everybody. It's been a whole week since the last time we did one of these. Feels like a really long time.
Feels like so long.
Yeah, man, I've been counting the days when we could get together and record again. And here we are. I'm so excited.
Can barely sleep.
Well, welcome to another episode of Always Almost There, Day After Show Live. We are here today, very, very excited to talk about this past weekend's Phil Lesh and Friends shows featuring our very own Rick. Very exciting weekend. Neil was at one of the shows. Brian and I both webcasted. We are looking forward to it. As always, before we get started, a word from our sponsor. Today's episode of Always Almost There is sponsored by Eversio Wellness. Eversio functional mushrooms are here to help right now, whether you are gearing up for a show, going to sleep afterwards, or recovering and restoring the day after. With a wide range of health benefits, Eversio mushrooms help you make the most out of the moment through the ancient healing properties and their highly potent fruiting bodies. The organic certified therapeutic potency and their planet positive refill system are two of the many standout reasons that Eversio is my choice supplement. Be clear, chill, balanced, energized, protected, focused, and calm in the moment with Eversio mushrooms. Use code STORMSOUND15 or click the link in that pinned message there in the chat for 15% off your order, available to ship anywhere in the US or Canada. Neil, it sounds like you maybe could have used some of the recovering the day after mushrooms this weekend.
Yeah, I could have. I had a lot of fun on Saturday. It was a blast. I stayed up really late. Got to hang out with a high school buddy of mine. This venue is not too far from where I grew up in Connecticut, so it was great. It's my first time actually at the Cap, which we were talking about this before we recorded. But the Cap, as it exists today, didn't exist when I was growing up nearby. We used to go, most of our shows that we would kind of travel down that way to were in the Norwalk area at the Globe Theater, which is now the Wall Street Theater. But so it was cool to finally check it out because, I drove all the way from Boston. It was about like a 3.5 hour drive. So you got to have a real good reason to go down there for that. And this was it. So that's pretty good.
Yeah. Really, really awesome lineup. Just to recap for anybody who was maybe not following along as closely. We had Phil Lesh on bass, of course, John Molo on drums, John Medeski on keys, Graham Lesh on guitar, our boy Rick Miteratonda on guitar, and then the tab horn section, James Casey, Natalie Cressman, and Jen Hartswick on horns and vocals. So really, on paper, that's just an awesome lineup to see a show, Phil and friends, or no matter what the music they're playing. It's a great line.
I think you did forget Graham there when you were doing.
I said Graham.
Did you? Okay. All right.
Thank you for reminding me.
Yeah, killer lineup. I mean, when you see that, I would pay a lot of money just to go see Rick play any random songs with Medeski. Sure. Or like Rick play with like the tab horns, or Rick play with, this was just it's like a perfect group of people, and I couldn't have been more excited about it.
Yeah, it was a good group. I don't know if I would call it perfect, but it is a great live. I mean, obviously
for me,
tab horns, Medeski and Rick, make it pretty awesome. So really good stuff. And some, honestly, unexpected contributions around, as well as maybe even some limited contributions that were surprising me as well. So great 3 nights of music. So let's dig into it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do want to, just on the lineup again, John Molo, really, really underrated drummer in this scene, and playing with Phil. He was the drummer for the Phil and Friends run with Trey and Page in April '99. He's phenomenal.
So the question is Molo Ben Atkins from the future coming back in time as like a 60-some-odd-year-old man? I'm assuming that's how old Molo is. The resemblance there is incredible. They even look the same when they play, like the facial expressions and everything. But that was blowing my mind on the first night. I'm not really familiar with what Yeah, so Muller's about to turn 69. I mean, he is Ben Adkin from the future. I'm convinced at this point.
It's got to happen.
So yeah, he just
We'll
came back
find
in
out.
time just so he could
We'll
do
find
that.
out in what? We'll find out in 30 years if, Spuds is going back in time to become John Molo. But yeah, let's dig into these shows. First night, we really see only, I would say, the only little bit of hesitation from Rick, at least, or kind of nerves that came through in his playing was on the opening Here Comes Sunshine. But after that, off to the races. Like, I think giving him a song to sing early on really helped with that, personally.
Yeah, well, it's one that he's done like a zillion times too, right? I mean, it's killer. I think across this whole run, the songs that he's sung a ton are the ones that he's done really well on, which you would expect. Yeah. And like this one just nailed it. Sounded wonderful.
Yeah.
And then,
yeah, I was thinking about,
go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, I was thinking about that too, that idea of, well, let's, we got to give him something early that he knows to like let him settle in and whatever. And so I think there might be something to that, but I also think, I mean, these are all, great players that have a ton of experience being on big stages. So, if I'm Phil, I'm not going to go up to Rick and go, "Hey, man, we're going to give you something to let you settle in, okay?"
Yeah.
I think he's like, "Yeah, man, let's carve up a set list and get everybody involved." But that being said, I mean, obviously, like with anything, you come out there with some jitters, which that is just natural for everyone. It is probably good and feels good to get into something that feels comfortable. And, then you can kind of just start to focus and forget about your nerves.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, in this first set was really cool. I really loved the dancing, Scarlet dancing in that first set of the weekend. Dancing Scarlet, Dancing Fire, actually. I thought Rick did an amazing job singing Scarlet. Loved the original dancing arrangement, not the 77 disco one with the horns. But I thought it was really cool the way they played that sandwich.
Yeah, that was definitely a big highlight for me. I liked this. I liked this night one a lot. And yeah, really, speaking of the dance and Scarlet dance, that was a real smooth, really cool return back into Scarlet, or back into dancing from Scarlet. That was really cool. And then I feel like the trumpet work on that dancing was really cool too. And just before we, we're going to talk about the Tab crew a lot. Just overall, some of the cool things were the vocal. The lead vocals. I wasn't expecting as many lead vocals. I kind of was expecting, Jen to do some because she's done some of this stuff. So I was kind of expecting that, but it was really cool to have so many more opportunities for them to shine than just like,
backup
on our limited horn parts, we'll do our thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
But yeah, so that was really cool. And then also, Tab, the Tab singers, they always kind of have their unique, background vocal arrangements and, improvisations. And we've seen that, they've always been especially noticeable for me when Tab does Fish songs, because that's when you can, see and really hear those differences, right?
Yeah.
I didn't think about that much coming into this. You know what I mean? I wasn't really expecting that. And it really adds, a cool, like, extra quality to a lot of these songs. And so, I mean, that was another just welcome addition from those three. So yeah, I thought having them up there was a huge bonus, for the band, for sure.
I agree. The vocal performances from all three of them over the course of the weekend was really just amazing. They all really killed it, put their own unique spin on things. It's always interesting when people who aren't, like lifelong Deadheads and like people who have studied this music for decades get up and perform this music. Because, you get someone like Joe Russo, when he was thrown into Further originally, like he had no idea any of the Dead's catalog. And so he didn't have that, like, I'm going to try to emulate what's been done before. He's like, well, I'm just going to learn these songs how I'm going to learn them. And, going to put more of your own spin on it that way. So it's really cool hearing them play. I feel like they've been a part of either Phil projects or some sort of Dead related projects before, and James was part of Billy and the Kids at Red Rocks last year, which was amazing. But yeah, they all have limited exposure to this as well, which is cool and definitely is a factor.
Well,
yeah.
Sorry, Neil. I'm gonna say one more thing about this set, and then let you have it. But just speaking of James, especially coming out of that, to close out that set, we had Fire in the Mountain, and I thought those were his best vocals of all the songs that he did over the weekend. I thought not only like his execution, but also just like his vocal fit that song.
Mm-hmm.
I thought really well. So yeah, I really liked his vocals on Fire in the Mountain. So yeah, just wanted to throw that in there while we were talking about those guys. Go ahead, Neil.
Yeah, I was just gonna echo your points about like Danson was awesome. Jen was amazing, both like as a trumpet player and as a singer in that one. And what was the other thing that I wanted to say? Oh, right. So Scarlett with Rick on vocals, which we hadn't mentioned yet. So I think by my count, and I might be off on this, I didn't triple check, but I think there were 14 Grateful Dead songs or Dead adjacent tunes that Rick sang this weekend. And this is the first one that wasn't regularly part of like Goose or a Rabelo catalog. I think there's 4 total that like were totally out of nowhere. And this one was exciting. I'm sure he's done this song like a million times in his life.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to point that out, that was a pretty cool part. I was excited when that was going down. I was like, yeah, we're going to get some songs we haven't heard before. So,
yeah, which is great. Yeah. And then, we have that Scarlet in the first set, and then we get a more familiar Rick tune with Ship of Fools opening the second set, something we've heard with Arabelo a lot. So good. And then this, the meat of the second set, which is like the latter 3/4 of it, I guess, really kind of reads like a crazy late 60s Dead set list in a way, like Stephen, the 11, Dark Star, the other one, Dark Star, Going Down the Road, We Bid You Goodnight. I thought this was just awesome. I love the way they're weaving in and out of songs. It just felt awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty ambitious for the first night before folks
100%.
like knew each other yet. So I was a little surprised by that. I mean, let's be honest here. Like, these are all amazing musicians, but this is also their first time playing together. Mm-hmm. So like, wasn't exactly tight, right? I did enjoy it, but yeah, I mean, I think they were still figuring each other out a little bit. I mean, there's still evidence of that on Sunday night too. But yeah, I mean, dude, those are amazing songs, and I enjoyed the heck out of it. It was really cool. Pretty cool to hear Rick playing Dark Star, because that's probably like the last time you're going to hear that unless he does something like this again. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, this, I probably, I actually, as of right now, I mean, I think I preferred Friday night as my favorite of 3. Sunday would be really close. But yeah, I mean, that the whole second set was really good. I've been wanting to hear Goose play Ship of Fools, ever since I first heard Rick play acoustic. So yeah. So yeah, that was super awesome to hear. And then yeah, to your point, Neil. Yeah, I mean, it's right on. I mean, there's, you could probably say there was a fair amount of improv, but I think for the most part, that improv was staying pretty close to, the natural boundaries of the songs, right? And so, I mean, I have to say, and I don't know how much of this was the mix. Neil, maybe you can tell us, and I've also listened to the audience tapes. I feel like I was expecting more from Medeski, and so I don't know if he was just being real, just a team player. I mean, everything he did was obviously tasteful and awesome, but I was expecting more just fire solo work from him, and he just felt like he wasn't in the forefront very much. You know what I mean? And I really wanted to hear more from him. And even when he was doing some stuff that I really liked, I wanted it to be louder. So, and then, I mean, and like you said, Neil, I mean, these are all great musicians, and I don't want to single anyone out or whatever, but sometimes I do wonder if Graham just isn't quite on the same level when it comes to like listening and giving space and doing some of that type of stuff. I mean, he obviously plays all this music really well. He's probably been playing it most of his life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that was one area where there were a couple of times where I did like what Medeski was doing. But it's almost like Medeski was like, "Oh, Graham, I mean, go ahead. You know what I mean? Take it, and I'll just sit back."
I felt like the first night Medeski was a little bit lower in the mix and he wasn't shining as much, but I felt Saturday and Sunday, especially last night, really like his work on the organ was just absolutely phenomenal. I felt like he was sticking to that a lot more than the whirly or piano throughout most of the weekend. And I just think he was doing a phenomenal job. Once we talk about Sunday, just some of the stuff from last night was just so good. But yeah, I do agree with your point about Graham. Like he would benefit a little bit from, I think, listening more than just playing. Good point here. Like it was up to Rick or Medeski to step on him, but they were being a little bit differential, which makes sense. But I don't think it was that major of a factor and detracted that much from the show.
Yeah,
so it was still amazing.
I mean, well, you have 6 lead instruments all on the stage together.
Right.
So you got to find the space, or you got to give the space as necessary. And like an argument can be made that the way that Phil plays bass, there are 7 lead instruments on the stage. So, it's going to be difficult to find those spots, and it's going to be difficult to be comfortable with each other.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's move on to, oh, wait, before we move on to night 2, just want to shout out the Broke Down Encore. Goose has only played this once. They should play it more because Rick sounds amazing, and playing it with the tab horns on backing vocals.
So good. Just an amazing cover. It's again, I was saying this earlier, there are just some tunes that, oh, hello, that's Andy. There are some tunes that Rick just destroys, and this is one of them. I'm glad he got to play it. And yeah, man, it's perfect. I love it.
Yeah, and maybe another reason why I like Friday Night so much is because I think Ship and Broke Down would probably be at the top of my list of all these songs that they did that he sang on. You know what I mean? So so getting both of those, I mean that was great. So awesome to hear him, do those songs. Electric. Which he's done Broke Down with Goose, but then also just with those players and everything that they were adding, that was super awesome.
I agree, Ryan. My allergies did come in there as well. Well, let's talk about Saturday.
Before we move on, one last thing, that I do want to say about that, to what Jive was saying. One of the reasons why I got so excited about this Phil and Friends thing with Rick showing up was that a lot of people were going to hear Rick singing some of these songs. That I think it's just amazing, and I think it transcends being a fan of Goose. I think, I think people can universally agree when he sings some of these songs, it's really, really good. And at least when I was at the show on Saturday, which we'll talk about a little bit more about that later, but folks around me were talking about holy shit, this guy can sing. He's just yeah, you can. It's pretty good. So I was excited for people to hear that, and I think those 2 songs on the first night really kind of made that statement hey, listen, this guy can do it and do it really well. So
let's talk about Saturday here. Walk us through getting there, going in, what the vibe was like.
Oh yeah, so I drove down from Boston and went down to my buddy's house in New York, not too far away. It was like a 15-minute drive, and we kind of hung out for a little while at his house, had a nice meal, hung out with his kids. And then his buddy from college also went down with us. We drove down probably like an hour and a half before the show, walked right in. It was nice and smooth entry, and kind of settled in. We saw Matt from Matt there. He was like one of the first people I saw walking through the door. And there was a band playing in Garcia's, which like I made a point to go check out. They were called Summer Feet. It was pretty fun. Caught a couple songs in there, and then went into the main concert area. And I was telling you this before we recorded. It's pretty close to a perfect venue. It's easy to get from A to B. Like, it's easy to get a beer. It's easy to go to the bathroom. There's plenty of room on the floor for people to stand. And yeah, man, it was really cool. I was psyched to be there for my first time. I definitely want to find some time to go back, especially now that like one of my best friends from growing up lives like 20 minutes away from the venue.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely go check it out soon. But yeah, I mean, otherwise, my one regret about the show is I stood back behind the taper section, so just to the right of the soundboard, because I just wanted to get like good sound, and I didn't want to push my way through to people. So I missed out on the walls, which are like
visuals,
pretty famous for like they're like projecting stuff up there. Mm-hmm. So I didn't see as much of that as I would have liked, but the sound was good where we were. We were taken in by a community of tapers, which was really nice. I think they kind of sized us up when we stood right behind the taper section. Like, are these guys going to make a lot of noise? And then I think there was a series of interviews with different tapers. They would come up and talk to us and try to figure out if we were going to be allowed to be in their neighborhood. And I think we were finally accepted into the group. And then, yeah, we made friends all night long. We were talking to all kinds of different people. So that was cool. And yeah, let's talk about the show. Talk about the show.
Let's talk about the show. This one, you know, Rick doing Althea in the first set here. Very, very happy to hear that. That was definitely one of the songs I think that we were all anticipating him singing and hoping for, which was great. Masterpiece kind of took me by surprise a little bit, you know, just because they're only doing a 3-night run. Wasn't expecting many covers like that. So interesting pick. And then, you know, the He's Gone into Cold Rain and Snow. That was Rick's shining moment of this set and this night. I think he, you know, went crazy on that Cold Rain and Snow. Fun fact for those who don't know, Goose has played Cold Rain and Snow once in November of 2014.
I did not know that. I thought that was the first time for Rick. No, I guess not.
It's on the website. You can click on the song name. Come on.
Didn't do it.
I don't trust anything on that website.
There are some holes. We're working on it.
So, and then of course, Touch of Grey with Casey on vocals, which is great. But the one thing I want to talk about from this show, and I think maybe even this whole entire weekend, is that Cold Rain and Snow. Yeah. It is, I think, the singular moment where they sounded like a band and not a group of musicians playing these songs together. Mm-hmm. And there's probably a few more you can point to, but this one, it actually felt like a real jam where they were all jamming together very, very well. And that one blew my mind. It was so much fun there. The crowd was going insane for this song. And like, that one took me by surprise. I mean, I like Cold Rain and Snow, but like the folks there were like, holy crap, it's Cold Rain and Snow. Like, everyone's losing their minds. And I think like people are like feeding off of it. And like, you know, the tapers were going bananas. They were like turning around and talking to us like, it's Cold Rain and Snow. And I'm like, I know. Like,
that's not a song that I would expect people to go absolutely wild over being played.
You listen to the odds, man, you can hear it. Like, I am not, this is not hyperbole. Like, you can hear people losing their minds. It was really, really good. I enjoyed the hell out of it. Definitely my favorite part of that set, just that one section of He's Gone and Cold Rain and Snow. Because Natalie sang He's Gone, right? So yeah. I wanted to double check that to make sure I was right.
Natalie Ann Graham, right? I think.
Yeah, Natalie Ann Graham. And
mostly Natalie.
But Natalie is awesome, and she did a really good job. So that was great. But yeah, that Cold Rain and Snow was pretty spectacular.
Yeah. I'll just add quick thoughts on that. Yeah, that Cold Rain and Snow is so awesome. So whenever I think of Cold Rain and Snow, so I think it was Jerry who kind of would like to do this, but you know, they'd be playing somewhere like, you know, Bonner Spring, Sandstone Amphitheater in Kansas, in July or August, and it's like 110 degrees out. And so Jerry would want to open with Cold Rain and Snow. I think that was like kind of a little bit of an inside joke that maybe wasn't so inside. I don't know. But yeah, it's super awesome playing during that. And I was out Saturday night, so I didn't catch the show live, but I listened back to all of it. And just, set list wise, probably, not as up my alley, I guess, as the other two nights. But yeah, that Cold Rain and Snow. I mean, that's, there might not, and honestly, we don't know if we're going to get, hopefully we'll get soundboards of this stuff. I mean, that would be awesome if we did, because I would love to hear this mixed so that we could get everything, get Medeski up and hear the vocals, nice and clear. But there might not be a whole lot that I'd be throwing on repeat outside of the stuff that Rick did. But yeah, this might be at the top of that list.
Yeah, for sure. And shout out again to James Casey singing Touch of Grey, especially with everything he's been going through lately. Like, that was just very heartwarming. Okay, so yeah, second set here, definitely, you mentioned set list wise, not as up your alley. I would agree, like, great songs in the second set, but, going China Rider, Brown Eyed Women to start off the second set is an interesting choice for sure. Rick killed Brown Eyed Women. Like, I loved him singing that song, but just weird placement for the song, I think. And then Wheel Terrapin do Saturday Night, Johnny Be Good, Terrapin.
Yeah, I would have liked to have heard Rick,
Yeah, go ahead.
Terrapin or do.
Yeah. I'm doing my best to not say that for like every song on this episode.
Just Rick should have sang
but there are two songs in this set that like I really, really wish that Rick sang. Yeah. And that is this Terrapin, which at least at the show it kind of let the air out of the tires. Like, I can't believe I'm saying that about Terrapin, but like folks were just kind of like tired at the end of that. It was not like this triumphant thing that you would think Terrapin would be in the moment. It was kind of the opposite. But then Morning Dew. I really wish Rick sang Morning Dew. That would have been amazing. It was one of the things that I was thinking about before these shows, that like, this is one of the songs that I really want Rick to sing. Didn't happen, and that's okay, because Brown Eyed Women killed. So, we'll take that. That's, pretty good consolation there. But Morning Dew really would have made it. And actually, like, the playing on this Morning Dew was like pretty cool. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, we obviously, if we had our way, Rick would have sang everything. But I think there was definitely an opportunity lost that, he wasn't, except for the songs that he was singing lead on, he wasn't singing backup vocals on anything, which I found really interesting. Like, for a person with his voice to not utilize that.
Well, you got a bunch of really good singers up there, right?
Yeah.
All three of the Tab Horns, amazing
really
singers who are like, have a whole, career kind of now on backup vocals. So,
well, I'm not saying they were the ones that shouldn't have been singing.
Yeah. All right. Encore.
Yeah. I was just gonna say before we move on to Sunday, I kind of forgot we got to mention Phil doing the band introductions Friday night.
Oh, on the first night,
giving Rick the old Tenera Honda and
the thumbs up.
And yeah. I mean, obviously, it's like if your grandpa, messes something up, you're not gonna be too mad at him. So yeah, that was pretty funny. And then he did Natalie Tresswell.
No, he said she played guitar on Friday, and then said Natalie Tressman last night.
Tressman, yeah. And she was also, very.
Yeah, it was my favorite was, you get the people who are like deadheads and haven't heard of Goose, and then they're going on the internet after the show and posting.
Yeah, why are they booing?
Why did everybody boo when he announced Rick? Like, what's going on?
I think they're trolling.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Graham told him how to pronounce it, and then he waited until the end, so forgot. That's why he started at the horn section and went across the stage on Friday, but then started with Medeski and Rick the other 2 nights, so he wouldn't forget the pronunciation, I guess.
Should have just called him Snakes, and
just been done with it.
Yeah,
I agree.
Rick.
He should have called him Rich the first night and Rick the second night.
That would have been good. I feel like that would have just confused Phil more. Anyway, let's get going on night 3. We open with this incredible Rick 1-2 punch of New Speedway and Half Step. Arebelo did New Speedway recently. Was that at the Levitt Pavilion show? Yeah. And Goose played it also November of 2014. There was a very dead, heavy show around that time. But so Goose has played that once. But Rick's vocals sound great on this tune. This tune was great. And then obviously Half Step, we are very familiar with Rick singing. And, we knew he was going to sing this one this weekend at some point. But great 1-2 punch to open the show. And then, Half Step into Wharf Rat. Dear Prudence with James Casey. He had done that song with Billy and the Kids last year. So he was, familiar with it. Great Beatles cover. But again, not a song I was expecting to hear this weekend. I wasn't expecting it to be heavy on covers like it kind of was a little bit. But
yeah, I wouldn't put Dear Prudence in the same category as Masterpiece, though. I mean, Masterpiece was a Dylan staple.
Yeah.
Whereas Dear Prudence was far more rare. So
that's fair.
And, really more of a JGB song at the end of the day. Far more than the Dead. So
yeah. Well, yeah. Your thoughts on this first set? Like I also, after the Dear Prudence, like Rick does Jackaro. He did that acoustic with Goose in June at Radio City. That's What Love Will Make You Do. That was a big surprise for me. I think Jen absolutely killed that tune. That was
one of my favorite performances of the whole weekend.
I think, somebody made a good point. Like there should be more JGB cover bands out there because
oh, hell yeah.
It's great music.
Yeah,
that was awesome.
Rick can do it with tab horns and they can just trade off vocals.
And then Rick on US Blues. Great.
Yeah, so not only 1-2 punch coming out, but Rick had 4 of the 7 set 1 songs here. Mm-hmm. So I mean, he pretty much now. I think we all agree that who should have been singing Wharf Rat too, but
should have been 5 of 7.
Don't even get me started.
let's not talk about the Wharf.
Oh man,
I wonder if That's What Love and Dear Prudence, those very well are songs where Phil was like, you got to think Phil goes to everyone who's going to be playing and says, hey, what are some songs that you want to do, that you're comfortable with or that you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
So you wonder,
Phil was after the strong vocal performances from after That's What Love Will Make You Do, Phil was applauding Jen, loving it. You can just tell he's there to just have a good time.
Oh yeah.
That's why he does these. He's like, I'm going to throw some people on a stage together. I don't know if he picks all the lineups himself or he has certain stipulations. And then his management team and Shapiro picks the lineups, but whatever it is, I think he's just we're going to go on stage. We're going to play some music. And I think he definitely takes input from the rest of the band on what songs they want to play.
Yeah. The Speedway jams were really good.
Mm-hmm.
That was super high energy and just jamming. I mean, really dug that. And yeah, I mean, that was a great set. I mean, this is such a good show. I mean, it's a great show to cap it off. And I mean, if you liked what Jen did, with that, then, Stella Blue, I think was also just incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, but we'll get to that. Great set. I mean, great set. Love that Rick was so involved.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just, kind of echoing some things that you guys already said. New Speedway, just awesome. I hope Goose does that one. We were talking about this the other night. We're going to talk about it again and when we talk about the second set. But I hope there's something that comes off of this and enters Goose's catalog. And this is maybe one of those. Just because New Speedway is such a kick-ass tune. Yeah. Such a kick-ass tune. And Rick does such a good job with it. But yeah, a couple slam dunks in here for Rick. Jackaro, US Blues, they're all songs he's done live a million times. And of course, Half Step, we all know. So.
Yeah. And then, so second set opens with Shakedown Street, which I think Phil's best performance of the weekend to my ears, at least on the webcast. During this jam, he was just sticking out. And I hadn't been paying as much attention to Phil in the context of the rest of the band, because I'm always just like, oh, like he's Phil, he's 82, he's going to be playing. But like, the tempo that he's playing at, and actually if you listen to what he's playing, he's right in there on all the songs.
He plays a lot of notes.
Like,
yeah,
he's going like,
yeah.
He looks 82 and he's like walking on and off stage and putting on his bass and whatever, but like he's playing with the energy of a much younger man.
That's just the way he plays. He's always played that way, and he's never stopped. So it's just Phil being Phil, man.
Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, the Shakedown was great. I enjoyed James's vocals on this. There was a bit of a misstep. I think at one point during the solo, I think like Graham kind of started soloing a bit offbeat, and then but other than that, strong version of the song. Jam was great. What did you guys think of the Shakedown?
I mean, it was good. It was probably, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I gotta say Stella Lou might've been my favorite of the set, but I'll just talk about this set as a whole, because I probably liked the Shakedown and the Stella Blue the most. That a lot of the set didn't do a whole lot for me. That's why I kind of probably have Friday ahead of it. Mason's Children, that's a nice upbeat cool song. I've always liked it. I don't think Ryan had ever heard it. So and this was good because Ryan got a little bit of an education this weekend, and I didn't know how much of a Grateful Dead rookie he really was.
You didn't?
But
I've heard Mason's Children before, just not more than once or twice.
So Hard to Handle. I know, Neil, you're going to probably talk about how much you like it and you want to see Goose play it.
I love
I've
it.
never been a big Hard to Handle guy. I don't know why. I was going to make a joke about the Dead covering Black Crows when Chris Robinson's not even playing with him, or Phil and Friends covering Black Crows. But
so in your mind's eye, when they're covering it, don't think of Chris Robinson. You're thinking of Pigpen.
Yeah,
and that makes it really cool.
Yeah, and
I loved Rick singing Hard to Handle. I think
it's a killer song. It just so happens the Black Crows fucking ruined it.
Sure, yeah.
But it also it fits Rick.
Well, let's get to that part, because we want to make sure we have time for that, because I do want to talk about the stuff that kind of the after effects of this whole thing, and then also some things that I was expecting that they didn't play. So. But as far as I say, I mean, the Hard to Handle jam, I thought that one just kind of churned a little bit too much for me, and I just got a little bit. I think I just got a little bit bored. The Estimated also, like, I really like that song, and but this one didn't. I wasn't super. Now I got to go back and listen, as I haven't gone back and listened to this whole second set, but I listened to it live. And then let's see. Then they closed that. Then the Unbroken Chain, which kind of felt like that we knew that was coming. And then that Stella Blue. I mean, it was just incredible. Jen just, she's just such a great singer, and she really, there's just a lot to her singing. You know what I mean? It's very melodic, and she's obviously got an incredible range, and it's and I don't know, maybe being a horn player, that might be so. I don't know, maybe I'm making that up in my head, but she's just she treats her voice as an instrument. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it really shone, I thought, in that Stella Blue. I thought it was incredible, and the whole band sounded incredible on that.
Agreed. And then the Love Light closer, always fun. We know Rick is familiar with that tune. We got a great video of Sam Ray of Spuds in the audience singing along as he does with Goose, which was nice and wholesome. I didn't see any pictures of Trevor, but I know Peter, Spuds, and Jeff were there last night for sure. Saw Greg was there all weekend. So, we're supporting each other. It's nice.
I didn't see many people I do, but that was cool. I just want to echo what Jive said. That Stella Blue was awesome. That, I said I might have spoke too soon when I said, that's what love will make you do was maybe one of my favorite performances of the weekend. This Stella Blue is definitely one of my favorites. It's just was, I mean, I just love Stella Blue, but this one went really well. Love Light I could have done without. I don't know.
It's fair.
That's how
getting Love Light and Johnny Be Good in the same weekend.
Dude, why throw Love Light and Johnny Be Good at Rick and like not give him Morning Dew or Wharf Rat? Like two songs that he would absolutely destroy. But I don't know.
Or
whatever.
Eyes. Where was
I mean,
Eyes?
he probably showed up and was like, I do Love Light with my band all the time. And they were like, sure, we'll let you do it. But they had no idea how they do Love Light. And like, that's what came out on stage. I don't know. It's just.
Yeah.
Okay. So Ryan, before you go there. So here's what I want to do. Let's go around one at a time and do one song at a time. And we can go around more than once, but I want to hear what you guys either not even expected, but hoped. Like, what did you hope to see that they didn't play?
Help Slip Franklin's. Like, I get that maybe they didn't play it because of the complexity, but I wanted to hear Rick sing that.
Yep.
Yeah, it had Eyes.
Yeah.
Right.
Rick on
just
Eyes.
because it's Eyes.
Yep. So I really wanted to hear. I was really hoping to hear Rick sing Candyman.
Ooh.
Oh dang.
That's a great pick.
Yeah.
Wow.
You're going with like deep cuts here.
That's a really good pick.
Spend much time like really thinking about this, but like, damn, dude. Oh well. So and then, Ryan, do you want to go with another one here?
I'm probably going to steal yours, but we talked about Ruben and Cherise a little bit.
I mean that would be an amazing one.
Arevalo should play that for sure.
I mean, like hell yeah,
that would be incredible.
It's such a good song. It would be very good. Samba in the Rain. He's trying to get my back. Like I definitely wanted to hear that.
Keep your day job, man.
So
also Loser. I think Rick would have done an amazing job on Loser.
I really wanted to see it now in terms of stuff that they have played. I mean, I think we were probably all expecting Peggy-O.
Oh yeah.
I also was really hoping for It's All Over Now, Baby Blue.
We know you're a big Baby Blue guy.
Oh man, I love that song so much. Yeah.
Fair enough. Black Throated
Not
Wind
Fade Away
also would have been a great pick. Yeah.
Me and My Uncle, I think I was a little bit maybe surprised that.
Well, I mean, Goose plays it very differently than they would have played it last night. So
true. Yeah.
Maybe it was on the list, and Rick was like, "Well, like,
yeah,
play it a little different."
But have you guys played it like this?
Yeah, that's why it was because they did. Normally with the Dead for the half step solo, there's like the big solo and jam, then they get to the Across the Rio Grande at the end. But for Goose, they do that first and then the solo. And so they did the singing early on last night. So I was wondering, did Rick teach Phil the Goose arrangement where they're going to go into that like faster jam?
And then also the Goose, the patented Goose ending.
Oh,
the Sugary. I also really wanted to hear Rick
stretch out on Sugary.
Yeah. Okay, so
we could do this all day.
Yeah, so real quick then too. Neil has a
more.
question, or Neil has the topic of what do we think we might, or what do we want to see, come over into Goose from these Phil and Friends shows.
Yeah,
but
Cold Rain and Snow.
Go ahead.
Cold Rain and Snow. That's it. I don't care about anything else. Like Hard to Handle would be cool. Like so when I was tweeting that, I wasn't saying like, guys, I'm the biggest Hard to Handle fan on the planet, and like, man, I can't wait until like Goose plays it live. What I was saying was, if anything does bleed into the Goose catalog, that's probably the song.
Stop trying to downplay your Spoon.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, ever since Neil heard Spoon cover Hard to Handle in like 2007.
So you guys are like just waiting for me to say something to grab a hold of. But no, so. Hard to Handle feels likely, but Cold Rain and Snow feels like if I had my choice, if I could like call them up on the phone and be like, "Hey Peter, like start learning Cold Rain and Snow tomorrow because you're playing it at Goosemas."
Yeah, but I'm going to go ahead and guess that sometime in the future we're going to get a second set that goes Butter Rum into Hard to Handle. I'm making the
love that.
prediction now.
I would love to see Goose play, Brown Eyed Women again,
Mm-hmm.
Ship of Fools.
They did Brown Eyed Women?
Sorry.
Yeah.
You want to hear Rick play?
Arebelo. Yeah. Arebelo has done it. But I would like to
Goose
see.
has played it.
Okay. So yeah, I was
the last
right
time
first
played was July 8th, 2017.
I think New Speedway Boogie. I'd like to see Goose play that as well.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll see. I mean, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see if if this does anything. You know what I mean? If any of these songs show up.
Shakedown Street, maybe.
It's like when Rick has done these collab sets, things have showed up after, right?
Yeah.
So when they did the collab set at Newport Folk Festival, Blood Bows Ohio came out all of a sudden for Goose. So like Rick had done that before. He sat in with, I forget who it was, and sang it.
That was the Bonnaroo thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, Newport Folk was they did with Lucius.
He sat in with multiple people. He and Peter sat in with oh gosh, I wish I knew it off the top of my head, but it'll come to me eventually.
I'm now thinking about them playing Shakedown. You get some nice double guitar during the song, then they get into the jams. Clav happens.
I feel like Shakedown's just like too obvious. You know what I mean?
You can't do that. It's got to be
like Goose isn't going to play Eyes of the World. You know what I mean?
You would sound like a bar band at that point.
Goose, yeah. Goose likes to dig a little bit deeper, I think.
Maybe 2018 Goose would have done it, but
yeah. Yeah, man. I don't think I would be into that. Like, and for good reason. It's Shakedown Street. I don't know. It's like busting Sally.
Yeah.
Same deal.
That's fair. Okay.
Yeah, I was thinking of the Bleachers guide. Diesel Giant just pointed that out, but that was like It's My Life and the '80s stuff. Was that also the Blood Buzz Ohio?
No, he did
that was Newport.
He did a thing at Newport.
Yeah.
Also, I just have to go back and look at what it is. But
does that mean we're gonna get an Allman Brothers tune from when he did that Allman Brothers set at that festival in Indy in early September?
Well, just going to kind of use the canned Shakedown Street argument for that one. Like, no, they can't play any Allman Brothers songs.
That's fair.
Because they're just going to sound like a bar band.
That's fair. And speaking of Allman Brothers, shout out to, one of my favorite Graham Lesh contributions to the weekend were the Mountain Jam and Jessica teases in Love Light. Just for the fact that I could be like, ah!
There you go. Well, I mean, we know how you like noting teases.
Kid loves a tease, yeah.
They're noted on
Did you note them on
Elgoose.net? They're noted.
Good.
That's good.
Well, sadly, no El Paso this weekend.
Yeah.
So we'll have to wait and see. Maybe we'll get El Paso next time. But yeah, that's it.
Maybe he'll do El Paso when he plays with Bobby. Bobby will sit in with Goose. They'll do El Paso. It'll be lovely.
Yep.
Well, I think that about covers it for today's episode. Thank you all for tuning in. I think we're now gonna not have one of these for almost 3 weeks, which
that's sad.
Very sad. We will have our fall tour recap episode out to you guys soon. Looking forward to that. And of course, we will be back with these day after show live videos for Taboo's tour. And so stay tuned for more information on those coming your way soon. Very exciting. As always, check out Versio Wellness, our amazing sponsor. Hope you have a fantastic day.